Hello everyone. It's March 29th, 2018. It's Thursday. It's Harp Thursday. I've been sick this last week. You can probably tell I'm still sick and wasn't able to do an episode on Tuesday, but wanted to do one today and complete this week or this month of Harp Tuesdays. And also wanted to mention that on Tuesday, in fact, my channel reached 1 million total views, which is awesome. So thanks everyone for watching. Here's to the next million. I'm going to be doing an online event to celebrate that on April 20th. More info on that soon. So for this episode, I'm going to actually try to just do a short episode on some practical tips on tuning. And this was inspired actually by last week's episode when I was talking about how annoying it was to have to hold my phone, my tuner, at the same time as trying to tune. So my first tip, I guess, would be if you have a smartphone, get a tuner app. I like ClearTune. It costs money. It's worth it. Support the developers. It's a great app. But there's a lot out there, including, I think, some free apps. And the thing is, if you have a smartphone and you're on a gig, you probably have your phone with you. You almost certainly do, right? So for every once in a while, when maybe you reach into your bag and you find you don't have your tuner that you would normally use, even if you don't use your smartphone as a tuner that often, you have a backup. And when you go to tune, put your tuner somewhere where you can see it. So hopefully both of us can see my phone right here. Put it where you can see it, on the floor, on a music stand, on a bench, on a chair, wherever. And then you have both hands free. One hand's going to be constantly plucking the string, other hand's going to be making small adjustments on the with a tuning key. So I'm not just let's try and find something that's a little more out of tune. So I'm not necessarily just giving one tune, right? One pluck, waiting, and then trying to get a perfect adjustment. I'm checking in, making a small adjustment, checking in, making a small adjustment, checking in, making a small adjustment. And I think that's just the best way to tune. Something to be aware of is that if you get a string that maybe is constantly hard to get a good reading, it might be that that string is old, and so for example is sounding at one frequency when it's initially plucked, and then as it continues to vibrate, the frequency changes. So that's just a sign maybe it needs to be replaced. So constant motion, small adjustments. Next practical tip, just a suggestion or a thought in terms of tuning the lower string. So for me, I can reach all these strings. I'm 6'2", and I can't see all of them. So if I'm tuning these lower ones, it's fine if I start from the bottom because I can feel that it's the C where the last one tuning peg is. But if I have to, let's say I'm replacing this F here, I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you know, keep my thumb on it and at the same time put the tuning pin on that because I can't see. Now, if you're short enough that you can't reach over and do all these, you'll probably be doing the tuning from this side. The problem with doing it from this side is you don't necessarily know which peg is corresponding to which string. Again, if you start from the bottom and you're tuning, okay, the C, the D, it's fairly clear. But if you want to find a particular string, it might be helpful to consider putting some small visual adjustment on those, say the C's and F's, put a little blue and red sticker or a little elastic band to just give you a visual indication. So comment if that's something you use, and I'd be interested to know, but just something to be aware of. Of course, something to be aware of is we should be seeing the string that we're adjusting move. So if you're finding that, I think I'm tightening this, and nothing's happening, well, check that you're actually moving the string that you thought you were, right? That there's, I think I'm moving this, I'm saying I'm moving the G, but wait a minute, it's not moving. Oh, I'm moving the F. And I think all of us have at one point or another broken a small string up here, maybe because I don't know, I feel like in the state I'm in right now, I could easily be tuning away and why is it not getting any sharper, and then maybe it breaks. I think I've done that once. I think I was sick at the time. But just remember to check in if it seems like something should be happening. Visually, is it being changed? Now, what if you have the problem of you bring it up to pitch, but then immediately it seems to just go flat again? It may be that the tuning pin is not holding. So one way to check that is to gently put pressure to unwind. So I'm going to put this on, I'm going to gently try to unwind, not with enough force. So in other words, I would expect there would be no movement, right? I can try it on some other ones, no movement. Oh, this one is slipping actually a little bit. This one was very loose. Perfect, okay, great. This hasn't been loose enough to actually cause the tension of the string was not enough to cause any problems here, but it was looser than I expected. So let's say that if you find that's the case, the string seems to be slipping, the peg, what you do is loosen it even further. For most harps, this may not be the case for all harps, depending on the maker, but for most harps, the pins are designed such that this is slightly narrower than this end. It tapers as it goes in. So if we loosen it, right, and then if we apply a certain amount of pressure in towards the camera, as we tighten, and I loosened it quite a bit here. Maybe didn't need to loosen it quite that much. What we should find, yeah, now it's quite snug. Now, you don't want to press in too much, right? I didn't have to press in very much at all in this case, right? Because we don't want to get it too tight. If it's too tight, we can conceivably, again, we can loosen it quite a bit. We can conceivably take the whole thing out, right? Take the string off, put some pressure on this end, and continue to unwind. I think that's probably your best option, though it really doesn't matter. Or just shimmy back and forth, and you should be able to get it out. And potentially, you may want to do something. And again, I guess I'd recommend talking to the harp manufacturer in terms of what you might want to do. But just good to be aware of how to potentially just slightly tighten a loose peg. Now, what if you have a case of, and this particularly happens on the smaller strings, it's too sharp. Can we get it too sharp? And you're loosening it, but nothing seems to be happening. And this can be a case where maybe somehow just the string is in, the fibers are, they're not moving. The tension of the string is not enough for it to say, oh look, there's some extra slack, you make use of that. So you can give it a gentle pull, and that should hopefully get you an effect. You can also loosen it quite a bit, right? So maybe you've made some small micro adjustments, nothing seems to be happening. Loosen it quite a bit, give it a pull, that you should definitely get a reaction at that point, right? And then tighten it back up. So just something to be aware of. And again, I feel that happens mainly on these smaller strings. I think that's it. So if you have some favorite tips in terms of tuning, post them in the comments. And I will see you in a little less than 2 weeks' time for the first Harp Tuesday in April. Cheers.